There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
What's going on, everybody? Mike Macabre. Welcome to Macabre Mass, where we not only talk monsters, we make monsters. And today, I want to talk about something. I just seen a video on Instagram. I believe it's Fangoria dropped a video where a girl was talking about how people love horror because they love the feeling of fear. And I'm not saying I disagree with that. I definitely understand that. There plenty of people, I would say probably the majority of people, watch horror because they love the feeling of being scared. However, I wanted to make this video to speak for those of us who don't feel that way. So, I have loved horror since I was a little kid. And when I say little kid, I mean little. Like I was watching it way before it was like okay for me to watch it. Like I'm talking 3, 4, really young. Like my mom told me that I was born in 87. The premiere of the original It was 1990. My mom, like, we watched that together. Apparently, obviously, I feel like I can remember it a little bit, but, that's really young. But my mom confirms that that is true. And when I was about 17 or 18 years old, I remember my dad having a conversation with me where he was telling me that he was worried I was going to grow up to be screwed up in the head. And of course, I chuckled and I was like, "Why did you think that?" He said, "Well, when you were a kid, you not only loved horror movies, but quite specifically, when someone would unalive somebody, you would hysterically laugh like it was funny." And I thought I found that funny. Obviously, I grew up to to be just fine. Um, but yeah, I wanted to make this video because some of us really aren't scared of horror movies. Some of us love it for different reasons, and I just feel like I wanted to be a voice for those of us who feel that way. It doesn't mean something's wrong with us or something because we don't feel fear. I can honestly tell you that I've never watched a horror movie that scared me. I have never felt fear at all watching any horror movie. They have never scared me, And according to my parents, and I do remember, obviously it's hard to remember when you're 2, 3 years old, but I do specifically remember, you know, age 5 and 6, and I loved horror. I really did. I would watch Freddy's constantly. I loved Freddy Krueger when I was a kid, and of course Michael Myers and Jason. I absolutely adored it all the way up through my teens. Like, so I think it's for those of us who aren't scared of horror movies and don't feel this big fear when we watch them. To me, it's more so, and some people might not understand this. Yeah, those are the of you, if you that kind of thing, where if you know, you know, where it's kind of, and it's a quote that I love. It's sympathy for the monster. To sum it up in a few words, it's kind of like that sympathy for the monster, to where, of course you feel bad for the victims, right? They're innocent, all that good stuff. But some of us have the thought in our head, like, well, who feels bad for the monster though? You know, like, who feels bad for the guy who is so sad and so brokenhearted and so void of emotion that he's willing to put on a mask and just randomly unalive people, So some of us, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, we gravitate towards that, Not saying like what we strive to be that or something, or we're gonna be a monster, but like to where you know what it feels like to be depressed and to be bullied and want to let them have it, kind of thing. So it's almost like an energy release thing. Like those of us where horror movies don't scare us, but we love them a whole bunch. It we're more so on that side of things. So basically, I wanted to make this video to say not all of us watch that. It's accurate, but it's inaccurate. Yeah, maybe for a certain percentage or a large percentage of people, they love horror because it scares them. There are a percentage of us who do not get scared, but still absolutely love horror movies. and we have our own reasons for that. I'm trying to explain it in that way, like the whole sympathy for the monster. And, it's kind of like an energy release, I think, for some of us. Like when I was in middle school, I was real chunky and I got made fun of a lot. And I hated going to school, middle school, man. It was brutal, man. I got made fun of every day, all day. I hated it. So I would go home and I would watch horror movies, and it would comfort me. It made me feel better. Especially like when I was a kid, I really loved Jason, and particularly part five was always one of my favorites because you know, it's like the bullied getting their vengeance kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like Jason, for instance. Obviously, he was how the movie explains. He's mentally challenged, and he's special needs, and I can gravitate. I'm trying to find the way where I feel that, I feel that in my, like, I understand it. I understand that, of course, it is wrong to unalive random people, but at the same time, to be so sad and so depressed and just so lost that that is what you turn into is sad within itself. It's terrible. It really is. That's where the whole sympathy for the monster thing comes in. Like if you watch Frankenstein, amazing, one of my favorite movies, right? It's that kind of thing. Frankenstein, when you watch, like, he a monster, sure, but it's not his fault. He doesn't even understand. Like, so it's like I don't know which, a double edged sword. Like, but there's two sides of it. Yes, so I do agree with, the video Fangoria put out and all that, saying that there's a lot of people who love horror because they fear it. But like I said, I wanted to make this video for the people who don't feel that way. Some of us don't feel that way, and horror movies don't scare us, but we actually absolutely adore them. I do. I am obsessed with Michael Myers. I am obsessed with the Boogeyman. I always have been, and not 1 second of any of the movies ever scared me, even a tiny little bit at all. I have never felt fear watching any horror movie. Honestly, it's just, but I love them, and I feel like there's other people who feel the same way I do, that understand how I feel, and they also, can agree with me in saying the same thing. Like, yeah, I never was scared of horror movies, but always for some reason gravitated towards them. You know what I mean? For some of us, we get a different feeling than fear when we watch it. I don't feel fear when I watch horror movies. I don't know, it's like a release kind of thing. It's like a release. Like, one thing that when I put out my sad man mask, I put out a quote of mine that I pride myself on. I think it's pretty cool, but it goes like this: Fear not the madman, for most men are, but yet fear the sad man, for his ability to empathize is non-existent. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like a man is not at his most dangerous point when he is angry, right? Men get angry all the time on a daily basis, right? It's not hard to get a man filled with testosterone angry, road rage, whatever, just, as men, we can get irritated pretty easily. But men, of course, men get sad, but on a lot less frequent of a level do men get sad. When a man is truly brokenhearted and sad and feels that all is lost, that is when he is at his most dangerous, and that's what I feel like characters like Michael Myers represent. They represent a man who is just void of emotion. And there doesn't have to be a reason. There does not have to be a reason. That's why a lot of us love Michael Myers, because the mystique of us not knowing why he is the way he is. He just is that way. Some people are just sad. It's not anger. It's a sadness. It's a darkness. Just why, like, Myers' mask is a pale blank face. It's void. Which void and nothingness, and it's very, very sad. And some of us cope with that. Some of us understand that. So some of us watch horror for that exact reason. In a crazy way, so to speak, it's like the villain is your hero. you know, kind of in a way. It's not the kind of thing where it's like, I don't know. It's not like you want. Whether we're talking movies here, of course. It's not like you want people in the film to meet their demise, but it's in a way you're kind of rooting for, for the, so to speak, bad guy, because you can relate to it. You can relate as a man to being sad and being so upset that you just don't care at all. You have no sympathy, you have no empathy, and you're just, you feel like an empty void, and some of us cope with that and understand that. So hopefully I'm not the only I don't think I am. I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there that feel the same way I do. I feel like the people who watch horror movies and they do get really scared of them look at guys like me, like maybe we're a little crazy. Like that is completely psychotic that these movies don't scare you and you're, so to speak, rooting for the bad guy. But it's more intricate than that. It's not just that simple. It's different. Some of us, our brains are just wired differently. So like I said, I wanted to make this video for those of us who do feel that way, who we don't feel that fear. We're more so. Michael Myers is like our hero, man. That's who we're rooting for in the movies. And in the end of Halloween, Michael Myers does win, and a lot of us love that. And there's nothing wrong with us, okay? Just because we feel that way doesn't make us a psychotic. Not at all. I grew up to be a good guy. But yeah, so you guys let me know how you feel in the comments section, you guys. Please let me know. Are you with me? Or be honest, if your horror movies really scare you and that's why you watch them, let me know in the comments section. I'm really curious to everyone who watches this or sees this, how you really feel. Like, do horror movies scare you, or do they not scare you, but for some reason you love them, and you understand the whole sympathy for the monster thing, and you kind of root for the bad guy in a way. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with you if that's the way you feel. That's just how some of us are. So yeah, man, I had to speak for us real quick, man. There might be less of us than the other side, but still, man, I had to speak for those of us who that's how we feel, man. And horror movies don't scare us because, believe it or not, it doesn't scare some of us, but we still love it, man. So, like I said, let me know how you feel in the comment section. Uh, I'm gonna stop blabbing. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. I do masked raffles. I make masks. I'm an artist, and all you have to do is be subscribed. And if you hit the subscribe button, you can win a mask for free. You don't have to pay 1 cent. All subscribers are automatically part of the raffle and have a chance to win a mask for free. So, man, hit the button. Get a free mask. I know when I first started collecting and stuff, I would have loved to have been able to win an independent mask for free, man. I would have definitely clicked the button to do that. But I can't force y'all. I can't force you to hit that button. But I will say that I super appreciate it if you do. I am blabbing. I'm going to get off of here. Mike Macabre signing out. Till next time. Y'all take care.
There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.